In January 1879, the British Empire believed it was unstoppable. Its army had conquered continents. Its rifles and artillery were considered unbeatable. And yet, in a single afternoon, on a rocky hill in southern Africa, an entire British force was wiped out. Not by a European rival. Not by modern weapons. But by warriors armed mostly with spears and shields. This is the story of the Battle of Isandlwana, the day the British Empire suffered one of the most shocking defeats in its history. By the late 1800s, Britain was expanding aggressively across southern Africa. To the east stood the Zulu kingdom, a powerful, centralized state with a highly disciplined army. Every adult man was part of a regiment. Their tactics were drilled, refined, and proven in war. Britain wanted control of the region and saw the Zulu state as an obstacle. An ultimatum was delivered to the Zulu king, Sethweo, deliberately impossible to accept. When he refused, Britain invaded. They expected a short campaign. They were catastrophically wrong. On January 22, 1879, a British column camped beneath a distinctive rocky hill called Isandlwana. Around 1,800 British and colonial troops occupied the camp. Crucially, the camp was poorly prepared. No trenches were dug. No wagons were formed into a defensive barrier. There was little expectation of a serious attack. The British commander, Lord Chelmsford, believed the main Zulu army was far away. That morning, he marched off with nearly half his force to search for the enemy. The camp was left exposed. The Zulu army was already nearby. Hidden in the hills and tall grass was a force of roughly 20,000 Zulu warriors. They were arranged in a formation known as the Horns of the Buffalo. The center would attack head-on. The horns would sweep around both flanks. The reserve would wait, then strike where needed. It was a system perfected through generations of warfare. When British scouts suddenly stumbled upon the hidden force, the Zulu rose up in unison. The attack had begun. At first, British firepower seemed decisive. Rifle volleys tore into advancing ranks. Artillery blasted gaps into the Zulu formations. But the Zulu did not break. They advanced through smoke and gunfire, moving fast, closing distance, refusing to retreat. Then, problems began to mount. Ammunition ran low. Supply boxes were difficult to open. Units became spread out and isolated. The Zulu horns wrapped around the camp. British positions collapsed one by one. What had been an organized defense dissolved into chaos. As the Zulu surged into the camp, the fighting turned close and desperate. Spears met bayonets. Regiments were overwhelmed where they stood. Some soldiers tried to flee. Most never made it far. By mid-afternoon, the battlefield had fallen silent. More than 1,300 British and colonial troops lay dead. Almost none escaped. The Zulu had achieved one of the greatest victories ever won by an indigenous army against a modern imperial force. When news reached Britain, it caused shock and disbelief. Newspapers called the defeat unthinkable. Parliament demanded explanations. The empire would respond with overwhelming force, eventually crushing the Zulu kingdom. But Isandlwana could never be undone. It proved a brutal truth. Technology alone does not guarantee victory. Discipline, planning, and belief still matter. On that day beneath the hill of Isandlwana, the British Empire learned it could bleed, and the world was reminded that history is not written only by the powerful, but by those willing to stand their ground. Like and subscribe for more interesting history.